Your shoulders carry a weight that has no name. Even now, sitting in silence reading these words, there is a tightness in your jaw you did not give permission to be there. Your body holds a tension it learned so long ago that you have forgotten it is not natural, that other people do not wake with fists already clenched beneath the pillow, that not everyone startles when a door closes in another room. You know this feeling, the way your breath catches when keys jingle in a lock, the way your spine stiffens at the sound of footsteps climbing stairs, even though you live alone now, even though the footsteps belong to a neighbor you have never met. Your nervous system does not care about logic. It remembers something your conscious mind has tried to forget. They call it hypervigilance, but that word feels too clinical for what lives in your bones. It is more than watchfulness. It is the way you scan every face in a crowded room before you can think about why you are scanning. It is the way you position yourself with your back to the wall in restaurants, the way you memorize exit routes without deciding to memorize them, the way you cannot fully relax, even when someone you love is holding you because some part of you is always waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for the peace to shatter, waiting for proof that safety was always an illusion, that the stillness was just the silence before the storm. You are very good at being good. You have learned to read the emotional weather of every room you enter. You know how to make yourself small when you need to be small, how to make yourself useful when useful is what keeps you safe. People see you as capable, organized, the one who has a plan for every contingency. They do not see what it costs you. They do not see that you are not prepared, you are braced. They do not see that you are not calm, you are frozen. There is a war that ended years ago, but your body never received the message that peace was declared. You are a soldier who came home but could not leave the battlefield. The enemy is gone, but you still sleep in your armor. You still patrol the perimeter of your own life, watching for threats that exist now only as shadows, as echoes, as the muscle memory of a childhood that taught you that home was not a sanctuary but a minefield, and love was not safety but something that could turn on you without warning. Why does rest feel like laziness? Why does safety feel like boredom so profound it frightens you? This is not what they think it is. When you finally gathered the courage to speak to someone about the exhaustion that never lifts, about the vigilance that never sleeps, they likely gave it a name that did not fit. Generalized anxiety disorder, depression. Perhaps they handed you a prescription and told you to think more positively, to practice gratitude, to breathe deeply, and let go of what you cannot control. But you cannot let go of the controls because the controls are what kept you alive. This is not a disorder. This is not a malfunction of your brain chemistry that appeared randomly, inexplicably, like a genetic lottery you lost. This is an intelligent adaptation. This is your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do when a child grows up in an environment where threat is not an occasional visitor, but a permanent resident, where chaos is not the exception, but the rule. If you were raised in a home where emotions were unstable, where a parent's mood could shift like weather without forecast, where violence was possible, or silence was loaded with danger, then hypervigilance was not paranoia. It was survival. The child who learned to read the subtlest signs, the tone of a voice, the weight of a footstep, the angle of a closing door, that child stayed safer than the child who did not learn. You are not broken. You are operating on software that once saved your life. The problem is that the war ended, but no one told your body it could stand down. People see you now, and they see competence. They see someone who never misses a deadline, who has contingency plans for contingency plans, who can handle a crisis with a steadiness that looks like strength. You have become very good at functioning at a high level. You have learned to build a life that looks from the outside like success. What they do not see is the price. They do not see that you are not thriving, you are enduring. They do not see that every day requires a level of energy expenditure that would exhaust someone else within hours. Because you are not just living your life, you are also running a background program that never stops scanning for danger. Your brain is constantly asking, is this safe? What could go wrong? How do I prepare? What are the exits? Who is angry? What did that tone mean? Should I be worried? This is why you are so tired. Not because you do too much, though you probably do. You are tired because your nervous system is working a second full-time job you did not apply for and cannot quit. While other people's brains get to rest in moments of peace, yours is using those moments to scan the perimeter, to game out worst-case scenarios, to prepare for disasters that will never come. You are exhausted because you have been on guard duty for 20 years, for 30 years, for as long as you can remember. You have been standing watch over your own life, waiting for the attack that your body believes is always imminent. The fatigue you feel is not laziness, it is not weakness. It is the lake's cost of a childhood spent in a state of emergency, and a body that never learned how to believe the emergency has passed. Let us go back, not to analyze, not to assign blame, but to understand the blueprint that was drawn in those early years. The architecture of a nervous system built in a war zone that looked to the outside world like an ordinary house on an ordinary. The danger was not always obvious. It was not always fists or broken glass or screaming that shook the walls. Sometimes the danger was more insidious, more destabilizing, because it was unpredictable. A home where you could never quite calculate the formula for safety, where the same action that made a parent smile on Monday made them rage on Wednesday, where you learned that consistency was a fairy tale and the ground beneath your feet could open without warning. You learned to read the signs the way a sailor learns to read the sky. The sound of a car door closing in the driveway, was it slammed or shut gently? That told you what kind of evening was coming. The rhythm of footsteps in the hallway, quick and sharp or slow and heavy, that told you whether to make yourself visible or disappear. The silence at the dinner table, taut as a wire or soft as resignation, that told you whether it was safe to speak or whether words would detonate something you could not predict or control. You became a meteorologist of mood and expert in emotional forecasting. You could sense a storm building in the quality of a sigh and the way someone set down a cup, in the split-second hesitation before a response. This was not a skill you chose to develop. This was the skill that kept you from being blindsided, from saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, from becoming the target of anger that had nothing to do with you but would land on you anyway because you were small and there and unable to leave. Home was supposed to be the place where you recharged, where you rested, where you could let your guard down because you were protected. But your home was the place that drained you most. Your bedroom was not a sanctuary, it was a listening post. You learned to sleep lightly, to wake at the smallest sound, because you needed to know what was happening beyond your door. You needed to be ready. For what exactly changed from night to night, but the readiness itself became as automatic as breathing. Some children had nightlights to keep away imaginary monsters. You needed to keep away real ones, or at least ones that felt real in the unpredictability of their arrival. You felt safest in the small hours of the morning, when everyone else was finally asleep, when the house fell into a silence you could trust, because unconsciousness at least was predictable. Or you felt safest, hidden in a closet, under a bed, behind a locked bathroom door, anywhere that gave you the illusion of a space that was yours alone, that could not be invaded without warning. Now let us talk about what this does to a brain that is still forming, still learning what the world is and how to exist in it. The amygdala is a small almond-shaped structure deep in the brain. Think of it as your internal alarm system, your smoke detector. In a child raised in relative safety, this alarm learns to distinguish between real threats and false alarms. It learns proportion. It rings when there is actual fire and stays quiet when there is only the scent of burnt toast. But your amygdala never learned proportion because your environment never offered it. In a home where threat was random and frequent, where emotional explosions could be triggered by anything or nothing, your amygdala learned that everything could be dangerous. It learned to ring at the smell of smoke, yes, but also at the sight of a match, at the word fire, spoken across the room, at a slight increase in temperature that might mean something or might mean nothing but cannot be ignored because the cost of ignoring it even once was too high. Your amygdala grew larger, more sensitive, more reactive. This is not metaphor. This is measurable neuroscience. Brain scans of adults who experience childhood chaos show structural differences. An amygdala that is hyperactive, a prefrontal cortex that struggles to regulate it. Your alarm system is working perfectly. It is just working on the settings that were programmed when you were 7 years old and had no power and every reason to be afraid. This is why you cannot simply think your way out of this. Why positive affirmations feel hollow. Why someone telling you to relax makes you want to scream. Your conscious mind knows you are safe now. Your nervous system does not believe it. Your nervous system is still in that house, still listening for footsteps, still waiting for the mood to shift. And here is where it becomes truly complex, truly painful in a way that is hard to admit even to yourself. Your body became addicted to the very chemicals that were destroying you. Cortisol, adrenaline, the hormones of stress and survival. When you lived in a state of constant emergency, your body was flooded with these chemicals daily. They kept you alert, kept you ready, kept you alive. But the human body is an adaptation machine. It adapts to what it receives regularly. It begins to expect it. It begins in a neurological sense to need it. This is why peace feels wrong, why calm feels like the silence before an ambush, why relationships that are stable and kind feel somehow flat, somehow unreal, somehow less like love than the chaotic intensity you learn to associate with caring. Your nervous system mistakes adrenaline for aliveness. It mistakes cortisol for normalcy. When those chemicals are absent, when your environment is actually safe, your body interprets the lack of stress hormones as something missing, as a void that needs to be filled. So, you find yourself unconsciously creating chaos where none exists, picking fights that do not need to happen, catastrophizing situations that are manageable, choosing partners who are emotionally volatile because their unpredictability feels like home, feels like the texture of love as you first learned it. You tell yourself you want peace, and you do. You desperately do, but when you find it, you cannot hold it. You sabotage it, or you flee from it because your body is screaming that this cannot be real, that the absence of crisis means you are not paying attention, that you have let your guard down and something terrible is about to happen. This is the cruelest trick of a traumatic childhood. It does not just hurt you in the past. It makes you hurt yourself in the present by teaching you to equate suffering with love, chaos with authenticity, and peace with danger. And when the fear became too much, when you were too small to fight and had nowhere to run, your body found another way to survive. It left. Dissociation, the freeze response. The ability to separate consciousness from the body when the body is trapped in an unbearable situation. You learn to float above yourself, to watch from a distance, to make yourself feel nothing when feeling everything would have shattered you. This was not weakness. This was the most profound protection mechanism humans have evolved. When a child cannot escape physically, they escape internally. But like hypervigilance, like cortisol addiction, this protective mechanism does not turn off when the danger passes. You carry it into adulthood. You find yourself feeling numb when you should feel present. You watch your own life as if through glass, as if it is happening to someone else. You cannot quite feel your body, not the pleasure, not the pain, not the signals that tell you when you are hungry or tired or need to rest. You describe feeling like you are floating, like you are not quite real, like there is a fog between you and the world that never fully lifts. People tell you to be more present, to practice mindfulness, to connect with your body. But being in your body feels unsafe. Your body is where the fear lives. Your body is what holds the memory of every time presence meant vulnerability, every time feeling meant hurting. So you stay dissociated, stay distant, stay protected behind the glass, and then you wonder why life feels muted, why joy feels theoretical, why you cannot seem to fully arrive in your own existence. This is what it means to be a child who never felt safe. This is the legacy written into your nervous system, into the structure of your brain, into the reflexes you cannot control, and the patterns you cannot simply decide to abandon. You are not dramatic. You are not oversensitive. You are not broken beyond repair. You are a person whose body learned to survive an environment that should never have been a child's reality, and that body is still trying to protect you with the only tools it knows, even though the war ended long ago. But let us speak now of what you gained. Not to justify what was taken from you, not to suggest that suffering builds character or that pain is a gift in disguise. Those are lies people tell to avoid the discomfort of witnessing trauma. Your childhood should have been different. That truth stands. And still, there is another truth that stands beside it. You learned things that most people never learn. You developed capacities that most people do not possess. The same nervous system that exhausts you, that keeps you awake at night, scanning for threats that do not exist, has also made you capable of perceiving realities that others miss entirely. You see people, not the masks they wear, not the performances they give, but the truth underneath. You can read a room the way others read books. You know when someone is lying before they finish their sentence, not because of what they say, but because of the micro-expression that flickered across their face, the slight tension in their shoulders, the breath they took before speaking. You know, when someone is in pain, even when they are smiling, even when they insist they are fine, because you have learned to hear what is not being said, to see what is being hidden. This makes you invaluable. In your work, in your friendships, in any space where human complexity matters, you bring a depth of perception that cannot be taught in any classroom. Therapists, artists, leaders, caregivers, the people who do this work well, are often people who learned young to pay attention to everything because their survival depended on it. You are a witness. You notice the person sitting alone at the edge of the gathering. You see the child who has gone quiet. You recognize suffering in others because you have mapped its territories in yourself. This is not a small thing. In a world where most people are half asleep to each other's interior lives, where loneliness thrives because no one is truly paying attention, you are awake. You are present to nuance, to subtlety, to the 1,000 small ways people ask for help without using words. The hypervigilance that torments you is also a form of profound empathy. It is the ability to attune to others at a level most people never reach, and you are strong in ways you do not credit yourself for. You speak of your anxiety as if it is weakness, but consider what you have survived. Consider that you navigated a childhood that would have broken many adults, that you kept yourself alive through years when you had no power, no escape, no guarantee that tomorrow would be better than today. You did that. The child you were found a way through. The vigilance you carry is not evidence of fragility. It is evidence of fierce self-protection. Your anxiety is not irrational fear. It is love turned inward, turned desperate, turned extreme, but love nonetheless. It is your nervous system saying, with every racing heartbeat, with every scan of the environment, with every contingency plan, I will not let you be hurt again. I will not let you be caught unprepared. I will keep you safe even if it exhausts me, even if it means I never rest, because you matter and your safety matters, and I will not fail you the way others failed you. This is devotion, misguided perhaps, outdated certainly, painful absolutely, but it is not weakness. It is a kind of strength that has been pushed too far, asked to do too much for too long. It is a guardian who has been on duty since you were too young to know what duty meant, and who does not know how to lay down the watch. You have carried this weight alone for so long. You have managed your own fear, regulated your own nervous system, kept yourself functional, and moving forward through a kind of willpower that most people will never need to summon. You have built a life despite the background noise of threat that never stops. You have loved people even though love feels dangerous. You have tried again and again to trust, even though trust was the thing that hurt you first. That is not fragility. That is courage of a kind that does not announce itself, that does not win medals, that goes unrecognized because it looks from the outside like ordinary living. But you know it is not ordinary. You know the cost of every day that you show up, every relationship you do not sabotage, every moment you resist the urge to run. Healing from this does not look like what you think it looks like. It is not positive thinking. It is not gratitude journals or affirmations spoken into a mirror. Those tools may help some people, but they will not reach the place in you that needs reaching, because that place does not speak the language of thoughts. It speaks the language of sensation, of safety signals, of proof that can be felt in the body rather than reasoned in the mind. Your nervous system is not interested in your logic. You can tell yourself 1,000 times that you are safe now, that the danger has passed, that you are an adult with resources and power you did not have as a child. Your conscious mind may even believe this. But your amygdala, your autonomic nervous system, the ancient parts of your brain that kept you alive, they need evidence they can measure. They need experiences that demonstrate safety repeated so often that new patterns can form, new neural pathways can strengthen, new defaults can replace the old ones. This is called nervous system regulation, and it begins with something deceptively simple, teaching your body what safety actually feels like. You must create it artificially at first because your body will not recognize it when it appears naturally. When you feel the panic rising, when your breath shortens and your thoughts begin to spiral, you must give your nervous system concrete proof that you are not in danger. Not by thinking it, but by showing it. Sit where you are. Let your eyes move slowly around the room. Do not search for threats, you have done enough of that for a lifetime. Instead, look for colors. Name them quietly. Blue curtain, brown table, green plant. Let your head turn gently, feeling the muscles in your neck, the sensation of movement that is yours to control. Place your hand on your chest and feel your heartbeat. Say aloud if you can, I am here. I am in this room. I am 28 years old, or 35, or 42. I am not 7. The door is locked. I chose this lock. No one is coming. This will feel absurd at first. It will feel like pretending. Do it anyway. Your nervous system learns through repetition, through evidence accumulated over time. One session will not convince it. 100 might begin to. Now let us speak of boredom, because this may be your greatest challenge. You have lived so long in intensity that calm feels like death, like numbness, like something is terribly wrong. When life becomes stable, when there is no crisis demanding your attention, you become restless. You feel an itch to create drama, to pick a fight, to upend something, just to feel the familiar rush of adrenaline, the sense that you are alive because you are managing a disaster. This is withdrawal. Your body is detoxing from stress hormones it has relied on for decades. The discomfort you feel in peace is not evidence that peace is wrong for you. It is evidence that you are healing, that your nervous system is recalibrating to a new baseline, and recalibration hurts. You must learn to sit with the boredom, to tolerate the quiet, to let a good day be simply good, without waiting for it to turn, without sabotaging it preemptively, to regain a sense of control. When you feel the restlessness rising, when your mind starts inventing problems to solve, when you find yourself about to send that text message that will start an argument you do not actually want, stop, breathe. Recognize this as your body asking for cortisol, because it is used to cortisol the way someone quitting caffeine craves coffee, even as it stops serving them. Say to yourself, this boredom is not danger. This is what safe feels like. I am not dying. I am detoxing. And you must build boundaries now that you could not build then. Boundaries are not walls. They are not cruelty. They are the skin of the self, the membrane that defines where you end and another person begins. As a child, you had no boundaries because you had no power to enforce them. Your space could be invaded at any time. Your needs could be dismissed. Your no could be ignored. You are not powerless anymore. You hold the key now. You decide who enters and when and under what conditions. You can say no without justification, without a paragraph of apologies, without making yourself small to cushion the rejection. No is a complete sentence. It is the first word of self-protection, the foundation upon which all other healing is built. Practice it. Start with small things. No, I cannot take that shift. No, I do not want to discuss this right now. No, I need to leave this conversation. Feel the discomfort. Feel the guilt that rises up, the fear that you are being difficult, that you will be punished, that you will be abandoned. Feel it and say no anyway. Each time you do, you are proving to the child inside you that they have a protector now. That protector is you. There is a suit of armor you have been wearing since before you knew what armor was. It is invisible to everyone but you feel its weight in every moment, in your shoulders that will not drop, in your jaw that will not unclench, in the breath you cannot quite release all the way. This armor kept you safe when you were small and the world was large and unpredictable. It deflected blows you could not avoid. It gave you something hard to hide the soft parts behind. But the war is over. The battlefield you memorized, the threats you learned to predict, they exist now only in the wiring of your nervous system, only in the muscle memory of a fear that once had a face and a name, but now is simply a feeling that follows you, a shadow that has outlived the object that cast it. You do not have to throw the armor away. Not today. Not all at once. That would be too much, too fast, too frightening for a body that has trusted metal more than it has trusted flesh. But perhaps you could begin with something small. Remove the gauntlets. Let your hands feel the warmth of a cup of tea held between bare palms. Remove the helmet. Let the air touch your face. Let the sun find your closed eyelids. Let yourself hear the world without the muffling of steel. Understand this. You do not have to earn safety. You do not have to be good enough, productive enough, useful enough to deserve rest. Safety is not a reward for perfect behavior. It is your birthright. It was always your birthright. The fact that it was taken from you when you were too young to fight for it does not mean you were unworthy of it. It means the world failed you, and you survived anyway. So, speak now to the part of you that has been standing guard all these years, the vigilant one, the protector, the part that never sleeps. Say this: thank you. Thank you for keeping me alive when I had no other defense. Thank you for your service. But I am grown now. I am safe now. And you can rest. You have carried this weight long enough. You have earned your peace. Let me take over from here. I will keep us safe. You can finally sleep.